So, welcome everyone. Let's start the Hard Choices Easy Life round 3. Thank you all for joining me here on a daily basis. Very intense course of building inner strength. And I appreciate your generosity. Thank you for all of you that contributed to this program. And today we will start round 3. Before we start, let's hear like 1-2 words from each of you. Where you're from and anything what you want to say. I don't hear you.
I know. I just unmuted myself. I'm Dick from Kamloops, British Columbia in Canada, quite a ways away from Ottawa or Toronto. And I've been here since the get-go, and I wrote in the chat that I think that we're addicted, and it's probably something a lot deeper than that. But again, I really like to express my appreciation, Jerzy, for what you're doing and what you're mentoring us through. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I hope it's a positive addiction. It's a good thing, right?
I'm Deborah, and I'm from Canada, Ottawa, which I said before. And I did just one of the sessions of the Happy Body into the cave, and I was so captivated with that, I thought, why not give this a try? So yeah, very interested in mentoring from Jerzy. And I recognize that, you know, there's a physical element to the Happy Body program, but there's also a mental, emotional aspect that I'm interested in exploring as well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Nahn. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I worked with Jerzy and Aniela probably 12 years ago when I still lived in California. So at Aniela's recent encouragement, I have joined the group rather late, but I've joined it.
Fantastic, Larry. Wow, where do you live?
I live in New Orleans now, Jerzy. I moved from California about 5 years ago.
Wow, you know, we were invited for a wedding to New Orleans, and it was just the virus that stopped us to go. It was so sad. We were very sad because we love weddings. So I guess we'll go and visit.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to see you.
Thank you, Lori.
Hey, Lori.
Yeah.
This is Leslie. I'm in Mandeville.
Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Leslie.
You too. Jerzy, I'm about 30 miles away from Lori.
Oh, wow. Well, you can have the Happy Body meetings.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
Same here, Leslie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marcin. I'm from Warsaw in Poland. This is I joined not quite at the beginning, but I think this is my 4th week. And I discovered the Happy Body about 5 years ago, and I was training myself for a couple of years, but I now realize that I've been doing a lot of things incorrectly. Even then, when I started, I was amazed at the system and how complementary and complex and simple but deep the system was. And I really appreciate the fact that we can actually have these meetings now where I can deepen my understanding. Although I'm having one problem. I think this is now the 4th week, and I keep popping off around 9 o'clock in the evening, our time, and I'm having a difficult time explaining to my wife what I'm doing.
Tell her the truth.
I don't know how long I'm going to keep this. I'll be able to keep this up, but hopefully for the next few weeks. So thank you, Jerzy, for everything.
One day
Invite
she
her
will join
along.
you.
Sorry?
Tell her you're going on a life-changing journey.
No, just
Get her to
invite
join you.
her. Yeah, have her join you.
I think we all need our own things.
Hi, Jersey. I'm Karen, and I live in Portola Valley. I took your 2-month course, or however long it was, twice in the past, starting in the early teens. And then I'm coming back to having not been doing it for a while. I'm sorry about not having the bandwidth to be live here, but I live out in the country and our bandwidth is terrible. Funny to be in Silicon Valley and not have computer bandwidth. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Arlene. Oops, sorry. Do you want to go ahead? Okay. I started the Happy Body in March of 2018. I've been to one retreat and met Jersey and Daniela in person. Loved it. I've kept doing the Happy Body these 2 years. Still not at my goal. I'm almost tempted to come down and put the bikini on and sign a contract, but I'm retiring next month from my regular job, and I think I'll really be able to focus more on that last bit of the diet then. And I live in Vallejo, California, just an hour away from Jersey. And yeah, that's, I'm still, I mean, I'm definitely a Happy Body for life. I love it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Sophia from the South as well, from Georgia, originally from France, but living in the South. And today I'm realizing it's Cinco de Mayo, you know, the May 5th, which is highly celebrated in the US. In Europe, we don't know what that is, but Cinco de Mayo. So that's a celebration to start this course again. Also, most of us have the books, right? And we'll keep coming back. So I think, you know, there's a reason. We can perfectly do this on our own if we want to, but we're here. So I think there's something else we're looking for, for a lot of us. Right?
Thanks.
Bye.
On that note, this is Margaret from Park City, Utah. I'm originally a Texas girl who spent quite a bit of time in New Orleans. But I got the book over 10 years ago and am just now starting the Happy Body and have been totally touched by the simplicity, the beauty, and the power of the program. And I can't thank Jersey enough for making this format available, because it's gotten me over a lot of my own personal hurdles in terms of taking care of myself, but the entire group has been so supportive since this whole journey started. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sherry from San Francisco, and just a little bit north of Jersey. And I found the Happy Body, I think it feels like 2 years ago, maybe 3. And I think Deborah was on before where she talked about breaking her foot. And it literally, I had broken my foot and gained quite a bit of weight. And so I was having dinner with a friend of mine and asked her what she had done to lose the weight and be so fit. And she told me about the Happy Body. And so I got the books and trained myself for a full year. And then I think, Jersey, you had some kind of, you were meeting every 2 weeks virtually, and I joined that one and sort of did some correction, and also did some correction on the diet portion, the food portion, and realized I lost about 35 pounds. And I mean, things just worked very easily for me once I had kind of seen how things worked. And then of course, life gets in the way, and my father passed away, and I was traveling back and forth for a very, quite an intense period of time. And it made me feel, when, we got into this place, I felt like I wanted to kind of reconnect and redo this. And there was this Into the Cave, and I thought, wow, this is kind of really good. And I loved what you said last week about, we're in the present. Whatever happened in the past is not as relevant. It's not relevant at all. That where you start is where you start. because I can't tell you when I tried to do those squats, 60 squats, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so stiff. I'm so sore. And just this idea of having to start again and just kind of ease my way through series 1, you know, and kind of take my time through it. And thanks for the timer. That has been great. Whoever, you know, that timer of slowing down and just going through each exercise and kind of giving myself back that how to start and get back into it just feels great. So I'm really, really happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Sanjam here from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from India originally, but I've lived in the US now for very long. So I've tried the Happy Body on and off, and I didn't stick with it. And this time, when I first joined, it was during the second week of Into the Cave, and it was on a lark. I wasn't quite sure how it's going to be, but I think I found much more than I was expecting. Again, I feel like addressing, you know, our mind and our motivations through the hard choices, easy life has really, I think that's the framework. And then, at least personally, because I always run out of motivation, and I feel like I'm on an introspective journey, and this is, I'm so fortunate to find this community, and Jersey as a mentor and teacher is just, outstanding. And I'm very grateful for the community and to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joyce. I'm currently in rural Pennsylvania. I was previously a dancer in New York, so movement and health and fitness has always been a part of my life. Recently had some medical issues, and so was kind of I've backtracked a little bit. In addition, I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner. So my work is helping people become aware of their movement patterns and helping people move out of pain. And so I see the Happy Body as a really nice complement to my personal life as well as my professional life. So I'm really pleased to be here and to have become aware of, you know, this online opportunity. So thank you. Glad to meet you all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I am Jeannie Kawaji, and I just put on my thing, and I'm happy to be here again. I'm local, Los Altos, California, and I joined Karen about 5 years ago for the course, Jersey, that you did, you and your beautiful wife, in Palo Alto at a church. I don't know if you did it there many times or a few times. I'm not quite sure, but I think it was in the fall. Is that right, Karen? Anyway, I'm so happy to be back. I bought this book for all of my family for Christmas that year. And I wanted to come back to it and be much more of a religious follower of doing everything much more accurately. So I appreciate all of this. And I do think there's a connection between our will and our behaviors. So I love this new connection that you're offering to us here. Thank you. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I would like to add that I have 4 children, and I always give them a gift on Mother's Day because they made me a mom. So it's a partnership. So they're all getting a Happy Body, the Happy Body for Mother's Day.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic.
And they're young brutes who think they can conquer the world.
Of course.
So we'll see how it goes.
Right, right. They will, in some ways.
Hi, this is Jenny Sullivan. I live in not too far from Jersey, just a few minutes east of him in California. And my husband and I started the Happy Body. He just reminded me the exact date, December 5th, 2011 at 7:30. And our friends in the neighborhood all had known and highly, highly recommended his program. So without a doubt, I showed up, and I am just so grateful that there was a few years that I drifted apart from it, and there wasn't a day that went by that an email came from Jersey, or, I mean, it was like instant, open it. And I've been on this journey with him and several others on this call since the very first day he started these tele-remote teaching seminars. And I'm just, I won't stop. Like now, I can't stop. I think it's very daily. I think it's a very intentional daily practice. And I know now that I need that coaching at this time. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me? See me? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, my laptop keeps slipping off its keyboard. I'm Janice, and I live in Los Gatos, and yesterday my house sold, and yesterday my dog started creeping to some unusual place where I think he's losing it. So I'm feeling a sense of loss. And this COVID is tough on everyone. But I have this. I have Jersey and you all, and the goal is for goodness and for health. And I think that's a lot. So I'm on this beautiful train with you all, and just have to learn to deal with my emotions about things that are happening and take care of myself mentally and physically. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mute. Okay, thanks.
Hi, my name is Loretta Starkey, and I'm in Mountain View, California. And for a while now, I've been wanting to work out with weights. And when I got the email that this was happening, I guess I joined the third week. I was really excited, and since I haven't been moving in this way, I'm just starting very slowly, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what can happen.
Yeah, thank you.
Loretta, can you put your camera on, or is it intentional maybe? Just to see your face once?
I can do that, yeah.
Hey, yeah, we know you. All right.
I usually have to use 2 different systems to listen to this, and so today I'm trying out just using one, but anyway, that's part of why I have the video off. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to introduce? All right. Okay, so we'll ask others tomorrow. Whoever didn't introduce himself, he can herself can do it tomorrow. Okay, let's begin. Well, you know, the journey into the happy body, as you can hear, is a journey that some people have for 10, 20 years. And people get into it, it always that journey is a different journey for anyone. So I have the metaphor that people percolate like cucumbers, into their happy body. They have their own ways of and their own time when they actually ready. And then we go in and out. And then the situation is when we do certain things that is physical, and we practice, and then we stop practicing, and then come back and practice again, and then we lose it and come back. The one thing is with the happy body that whenever people come back, they have only one sentence, and they say the same sentence. I've never felt better than when I was on the happy body program. So that's very clear with everyone. Now, you have also the Happy Body Tribe. I created a Facebook page, so you can subscribe there or become a member of it, and you can start communicating with each other and ask questions or insights, whatever you have. So then this is our third round. The first round was mostly based on the knowledge of how we relate to something mentally, to something physically that is challenging physically. And the Happy Body is a good system, the system that makes us better over time. But that system also, because it makes us better and the core of it is goodness, then it comes with a challenge, and those challenges create irritation sometimes, frustration, and disappointments when we do the wrong things, and or we simply make wrong choices, and so on, so on. So it's easy to lose what is good, and when we lose what is good, then we suffer because of it. So it is important that this Hard Choices Easy Life will help you with not losing it, and keep doing this and make it organically your own. It means that you become that. So it is the situation with us that we can know about things, but we are not the things. So the same with the Happy Body. You can end up knowing the Happy Body, you can read and know about it, but the magic is to become it and not really know about it. Once you become it, you also know about it. You actually know a lot more about it than anybody else. So it's like with Stoics or any philosophy, people, philosophers, they know a lot about the other philosophies, but they are not, those philosophies. And some of them, they are really based on becoming the philosophy, like Stoics, there is a philosophy of Stoicism, and then there is becoming something like Stoic is. So there's two different things. So if you become Stoic, then you don't have to become philosopher and know about Stoicism. You know about Stoicism because you are Stoic. So it is important to practice something what we want to become. But it is really hard sometimes, and the first is always kind of a hard choice. And Hard Choice Easy Life is a saying about how to live life, and that saying came from, I was practicing this saying, but nicely put, it was done by Naval Ravikant, I was at his house, and it was this Indian celebration. I think, don't know exactly know the name of it, Denali or something like that. And we talk, there was a group of people, and we talk about how hard it is to say something meaningful in few words. And we talk about, you know, a lot of people talk, and Naval said, you know, I have, you know, the 3 stages of what I really learned the most important in my life. And he said, I learned from Aristotle, you know, I learned know yourself. So that is the whole exploration of knowing, you know, about to exploring yourself, to engage in understanding yourself, in engage in feeling about who you are, and understanding, you know, and engage in believing what's going on, who you are in the world. And then he said, I learned from Buddha that desire is suffering. So from Aristotle, I learned 2 words. From Buddha, I learned 3 words. And he said, desire is suffering. And you know, that whenever this desire interferes strongly in our life and it doesn't happen, that of course we suffer because of it. That's why, you know, I came out with the idea no expectations and present moment, that that helps with the whole idea of desire to eliminate actually the suffering really during that our life and the process when we actually want something, and not to want it in a way that it is projected to the future, but you know, want to create this, you know, making it happen in the present moment. So he said, from Jersey, I learned 4 words: hard choices, easy life. And he said, this is how we should live the life. Hard choices, easy life. We create this, you know, how. So this a way of living is already taught for maybe 7 years, and then I started this program. This is the round 3, and of course a lot of people think about that hard choice is a hardship sometimes, and not really not a good thing, you know. So the hard choice is never really hardship. It is mentally choice that we make, and that is really hard for us to make, and then physical follows after. But it is something that makes us better over time. So if it's something makes us better over time, or makes us even better than ever, then means it is always hard, because the improvement is hard. So whenever we improve anything in our life, it is always a hard choice, because our mind doesn't want to do it. Our mind wants to do something what is in the past. So the situation here with all of us and the happy body is that we can do the happy body, and after a while we stop doing it, or we develop attitudes that actually we lose it. And it is something that is a way of living, and that way of living is asking us to become better, asking us for certain practice, and to create goodness in our life, and because of that we could become better. And it is very complex, and it's very simple in a way. because it requires very simple practice, but at the same time, in our mind, we can easily talk ourselves out of it. So our mind can use many ways to say no to the practice. And that is very devastating and very debilitating when we actually cannot do something what is good for us. So I noticed that in the last 12 years that, people, when they are in front of something that is requiring improvement, mental improvement and physical improvement, they don't have sometimes enough strength to override, impulses to do something what would be contradiction to actually doing the happy body. So I started working on in different ways how to help people, and I started writing poems and dialogues and stories, and Angela also started writing in order to come out with stories and pearls to help people to develop in the mind this gap, this strength to accept what is hard and create the goodness in life. And we focus on this and practice that. And whenever people were coming to our house, we engage half of our time with inner strength and half of our time with the physical. And the more we were going through, the physical was very clear, what to do, but the mental was more important. So in the first round, we focus on this issue about becoming a good person, and then we focus on the movie Groundhog Day, and in that movie there are really 3 stages a person goes through, and we can also develop that kind of attitude to life that sometimes we want to buy things, and in that first stage that man wanted to buy a woman, and in order to buy that woman, that man had to have lots of money, right? So in the story, is the woman is that symbol of innocence and symbol of integrity, high integrity. And of course, no matter how much you spend, you cannot buy that woman. So in the movie, the character finds out after many failures that just cannot buy that woman. Then turns into the second stage, and the second stage tries to impress her, and that in order to impress her, he learns everything about that woman and tries to match everything what that woman is, but much only artificially, that matching is. He's not becoming really a lover of French poetry, but he knows that she loves French poetry, so he learns some poems and learns French and recites the poems. But after a while, it just doesn't work either. He understands at the end of the movie that in order to get that woman, he needs to match her. He needs to match that integrity she represents. He needs to become that person that her level is whatever level she is on. So he starts really doing things that starts really making him. He learns playing piano. He really learns it now. He learns sculpturing, and he really learns that, right? And then he helps people around. He becomes the person that is kind to people, and on and on and on. And then at the end of the movie, he doesn't work on really trying to, get that woman impressed or buy her, whatever. He goes through a day, and that day is a day of a practice, the day of a present moment. He completely is in the present moment, and he loves what he is doing, and he's good to people, kind, and he is artistic. He plays now, he sings, and he is this. So when she sees that, she spends all her money to buy him, right? She spends $356, whatever it was, and writes the check in the auction, like it's a funny auction of buying the a single man, right? And then it all happens because of the whole practice he is involved. And that practice, we know that was the practice of many, many, many years. So here is the situation that with the happy body. The happy body is this goodness that cannot happen without the practice of this kind, the practice of, of the practice of giving you flexibility if you are not, healing your injuries, and making you more mobile when you lost it already, when you are 50 or 60. And then it's all, let me see, forgot to actually pin the video. Sorry for this. So it's all happens because of this, practice that the man is involved over many, many, many years. And that gives it gives a clear cut that if we want to create goodness in life, if we want to reach for something that is has integrity and has this innocence, we have to spend many, many years to actually match it. So the happy body is really there, and it is just something, this goodness, like this woman. And then we need to match it, and that's why they are standards. And those standards help us to live our life. They are there for us to, like the guidelines, and we know them, and now we are challenged by the standard. But at the same time, the challenge comes from something what is good up there. And we, whenever we have any impulses to do something wrong, we can build enough strength to override this impulse, to appropriate our behaviors around the standard. For example, the standard of ideal body weight or leanness. And those standards sometimes, take 5 years to build. Like leanness, it's not an easy standard to build. But that standard is over there, and we can build the micro-progressive system to actually, come to that place where the standard is and start living that way of life. So, there is a journey of toward the goodness, and that journey, we can be on the journey or we are not. So and we can also sign ourselves off of the journey, and many times happens to us when we lose the happy body and we come back to it, right? So this program, this daily program that I started, it looks like it's a very important element to create this inner strength for all of us, to build that capabilities that we will be able to easily override any impulse that would take us away from the happy body, even though it is really a hard choice. So number two, hard choice, easy life number 2. was around the first the first proverb or the first wisdom of the virtues, the virtues that are in the book, the virtue, the Happy Body Virtues, daily practice for the modern Stoic. And we explore first virtue in that book, which was no choice, no freedom. And we went with that virtue, exploring that virtue for one whole week. And those of you who are today here, they really have a really strong feeling, you know, what is it? And like any virtue, that when we are asked about, we know the virtue, let's say, oh, okay, I understand. So we know the virtue, but when we are not really of the virtue, then what happens to us is like when we ask, so what do you think about this? Oh, we have really not much to say. But when we are virtue, we can, you know, talk about this for hours. There was a lot of insights as we went through the whole week. And, you know, the whole week we were going from the beginning, one day after the next, from certain perspective about that virtue. And the first one was the no choice, no freedom. And I understand something about that. And then we explore, you know, what we understand really about that virtue. And then move to the I think and I feel, I believe, my plan is, my strategy is, and the last 7 days was my experience is, why we are doing what we are doing, right? So why we are doing this way is because really the happiness, and that's what we want in life, and that is our, in a way, I wouldn't say it's the desire or goal, whatever it is. I think this is everything why we are here, really. And it's just to be happy is extremely essential in life. And to find this happiness is and live the happiness is it is the most essential, and that is bigger than anything else. So that happiness is the result of these virtues. This is the side effect of the virtues. That's why it's so important to you know, to examine, you know, those virtues. So it's like Socrates said, unexamined life is not worth of living. So examining is now it's an important factor. So because of we examine that, it helps us to create our inner whatever it is that is based on goodness, based on integrity, based on everything what actually eventually delivers the life that is very content and not really maybe based on this happy, but it's really happy life. Happiness is like something that we feel it, but it is not happiness that people think what their happiness is. So we end up with this feeling inside that is a very soothing, very graceful, very beautiful feeling that we have constantly in our life. And sometimes tragedy happens, and that we, of course, grieve, and it's okay, right? But the most important is that we feel that we live a good life. We are good people who live a good life, and that is who we are. And because of that, everything what is good happens to us. And is it really true, right? Is it something that has the merit and is real? So, it's like in the Groundhog Day. You rich and you think that you can buy anything. I used to have this client in Burbank when I coach in Power Source that told me one day that everything has a price. And I said, well, not everything has a price. And then he said, not everything is a price. I said, well, you cannot buy everyone, all people, right? So certain people you cannot buy. And he said, no, everything is a price. So he said, look, he said, I bought all the lessons with you to the end of the year. So, he was very rich. And then he said, then you have to train me to the end of the year. And I said, listen, I don't have to train you. And if you tell me that one more time, then you can buy everything, then I will never train you again. Even if you pay me $1 million per hour, it's not going to happen. And he looked at me and said, everything has a price. So I said, you're done. And he was done. I walked away from him, even though I was poor at that time, even though I really needed money to live, but I didn't need that money on the expense of my soul, who I was at that time. So that integrity, the virtue, has to stay no matter what.
And now you live in Woodside, so yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, after 30 years, I live in Woodside.
For sure.
Yeah, but doesn't mean that I will live in Woodside forever. I have this, things happen to us, right? So you have to be ready for everything. It's just, really doesn't matter. I am not different than I was 32 years ago. And if you put me back into the house that is, the rent was for $300, and you give me $100 to live life to buy food, I will be also okay with that. And I will know how to do it. And I will not lose my happiness. So this is the thing that you really cannot, you have to detach yourself that money is bigger than happiness. Cannot buy it. The happiness is very powerful. So, imagine that you compare yourself to a very poor family, but that family has a really high integrity. They work very hard, and then they will be sending a child to college, right? And now you see it, and you see their struggle, and you want to help them. And it will not be easy to do that, because if you go and propose to help them, it has to be done with integrity. It has to be done with the right way. And if you don't have that way, then the poor family will reject you, because for them would be like losing the self, like losing the soul. So it is it's something that people have where that happiness is inside this, around these people, and in spite of how they live life, in spite of how hard the life is. So the happiness is available for everyone, and it doesn't depend really on where we are, whether we are in Woodside. You can be in Woodside. You can be in Woodside and live in mansions. And I know a lot of people who are miserable here that live in mansions that they are 10 times bigger than my house. So that is a really clear message that you really cannot buy good people. You cannot buy, you have to become one. You know, if you want to have good people around a dinner, then good people will not come, because good people will not waste the time for you. The good people want to be with other good people. So it is a really important journey here to comprehend that, comprehend the values, you know, and change the believing system that money has any values here when it comes to happiness. So the other thing is with us that we think that, you know, some other things are important in life, that that, you know, how smart we are is important. And it doesn't look like it's important either. We can have a lot of smart people that are very unhappy. So the smart doesn't work either, but the goodness works, the virtues works. And the Stoic knew that the virtue works, and but becoming the goodness is really hard, because goodness is inconvenient. It's inconvenient it's convenient to be badness. It's convenient to complain. It's convenient to blame. It's convenient to pretend that you don't have choices. It's all convenient. It's inconvenient to make easy choices, and it's convenient to be out of control, to be angry, and it's not convenient to control yourself. All of it is really convenient or not. It just depends where the goodness or badness is. It's convenient not to do the happy body or reject this, right? So who cares about that? Then boom. It's inconvenient to actually practice, and it's inconvenient to do what is right, what is good. And it's inconvenient to give the effort to become better over time. But it's a fantastic, wonderful thing to do. And when you actually step on it, you create that easy life. That's why the hard choice, easy life. So we went through this whole week of no choice, no freedom. And I would like to know some people had very great insights about, and breakthroughs through their own believing system during, because we think that we are smart. We think that we are, intelligent enough to know those things. And we are not even considering, sometimes even exploring that thing. We just sign out of it, or just, I'm out of it, what we are talking about, right? But the virtues are really hard choices. To be a good person is really hard to be, because it means like you cannot complain anymore. You cannot really get angry, or if you are, you control yourself and say up and apologize, for that. So I would like Martin to say something about his insight about having actually choices in life. That he thought that decision was everything, and then he was the one that was really just reacting to life and making decisions, but there were no choices. Martin?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Yeah, it had a very profound effect on me, and I still.
Hold on, I will unpin myself. Okay.
Yeah, so the realization that there is a significant difference between a decision and a choice was sort of groundbreaking for me. And actually, I'm still contemplating it daily. And in fact, I'm constantly surprised and enjoying the new discovery that I have choice. Because for me, I thought I had choice, or I had the understanding of choice, but because I've lived life by being ultimately responsible for myself, I do not look for excuses. The buck stops with me. So I thought that I was really very much in the driving seat, but until we had the session the other week where I finally understood what a choice is over a decision, I was making decisions along my journey, which I thought was mine, but it was lots of programs that I was operating on in my job, in my family life, even in my own sort of goals and aspirations. They were decisions over something that was sort of happening to me. I thought I was very much on board and it was my journey, but in fact, until really understanding what a choice was, I didn't realize there were so many different levels and layers to my life. So I was completely blown away. And so choices are extremely powerful. It's a really powerful notion and realization that sort of shakes you to your core. And that's sort of what happened to me. Jerzy has just put me on the spot a bit. So I'm sort of making
now you
it
are
up
on
as
it.
I'm going along, but I'm just trying to give you a very authentic feel for what's happened. And it's amazing.
Thank you.
You're doing a great.
Mhm.
Sorry, I just wanted to say thank you, Martin. That was really great. Thank you. I know you've been put on the spot, but thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add something about this week that we did about no choice, no freedom?
Jersey, one of the things that I was thinking about is that you brought up the fact that independence is extremely important, and that we should all be thinking of ourselves as completely independent of any help when we're exercising. And I find that it's really great to have, I don't want a dependence on you, but I certainly love your support and the encouragement that you give us as we're trying to get back into it or get started or maintain our level that we're doing with Happy Body. I think that that kind of support doesn't take away from the dependence issue, and actually is very, very helpful. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. You know, the teaching, the great teaching is always the teaching toward independence. And you know, somebody said that actually, the only teaching is the teaching toward independence. And you know, it's really hard to do that because that teaching has to be the teaching, very graceful teaching, when you wait until somebody comes out with a decision and you don't, you know, give that decision to the person. Somebody has to find the solution. Somebody has to find the way to do these things, and usually it takes time, and it takes a lot of patience to make it happen. So in a way here, we are all on a journey. You're on a journey and I'm on a journey. You're on a journey of creating this virtues of yourself, and those virtues of yourself cannot be given to you. They are just only the words, but those words have to become you, and that is very difficult to do. It's really a hard choice. You have to examine your life. It's not going to happen without it. So I would like to wrap up the second week. And the second week was No Choice, No Freedom, and that gave you this awareness that you have a choice before you make a decision. And that choice usually is there, but in a way we jump into a decision, and then we behave like we are in the driving seat, what Martin said. And if you do, then you pass completely the idea that you have a choice. And we can do certain things in life that they are very degrading to yourself, because you can't behave like you don't have a choice, but you have a choice. And that is a really not a good thing to do in life, because you will suffer because of making certain decisions and looking like you are the one that take advantage of situation or some situations. So who we explore who doesn't have a choice, and who doesn't have a choice is a slave. A slave doesn't have a choice. A slave is forced to be certain way, and the only choice that slave has is to die or live, or no other choices, right? Because other choices are really forced by the one that owns the slave. So, in our life, we explore this situation that in our life we behave like sometimes like we don't have a choice, and we say, I didn't have a choice. But we have a choice. There was always a choice. And that we have to contradict ourselves always, whatever we want to do, that we have a choice and explore this practice. So when I reach for a cup, I have a choice to reach for that cup or not. Even in that, I have that choice, right? And I'm aware of that choice. So the more we are aware of the choices, then we are more free, and we are more making decisions, and we are creating independence in our own way of living. So the worst thing in life would be to pretend, even consciously or unconsciously, that you are a slave. It means you don't have a choice. So in your life, to say such a thing like I don't have a choice is a horrible thing when you actually have it, because you take advantage of something. You are building something that is something that will take you away from taking responsibility for your own actions, future or past. So how to embrace the virtue is that, if you did something wrong in life, you say, I'm sorry I did that, this, that, and that's it. Well, don't say that I didn't have a choice, because you usually had it, unless you really didn't have it. But not to have a choice is very unusual in life, extremely unusual. And even that, the choice is also between life and death. Sometimes I remember this situation with partisans in Warsaw when they were engaged in the action, and they were chased by Nazis and into a building. The building ended up on the roof, and there was a choice in these partisans to be captured, tortured, and say, about their friends or jump and die. And that was the choice that it was in front of them at that time. It's very sad that we have to go through things like this in life, but that would be also disrespectful to anybody in the world, and any integrity, this kind of integrity that, all people, made these choices, these horrifying choices, even though they were in these positions, and then use the words, "I didn't have a choice." So that was what we were going through to come out of that week as people that always have a choice, building the awareness that choices are there and living the life of a choice. And we took the whole week to embrace this practice that we'll practice over and over still, right? That helps us to be aware of whatever we do in life, whatever we're going to do, before we make a decision, that there is a choice to make. And there are two of them, not only one. There's always a contradiction, always a contradiction. So, of course, with the happy body, there are a lot of choices to make. And sometimes, we make statements like, we don't have a choice, and we will start exploring that. And so we don't sound like people that are irresponsible. But eventually, like Martin said, you put me on a spot, but in a way, when you are put on a spot, it means that you also put on a spot of being responsible. If you know today that you have this kind of a choice, then you cannot behave like you don't. So as long as we are ignorant, right? We live the life of ignorance and we are not aware of things, we're just ignorant. But if you know, that is something else. As soon as you know, you just cannot pretend like you don't know. That's why awareness creates this, awareness of things creates this possibility of stepping down and sensing, developing more subtle way of getting into the language. This week, we will be exploring the next virtue, which is failure, needs forgiveness. So, very interesting virtue. I was in 1981. I was involved in a strike in Warsaw, where Jerzy Popiełuszko came to help with prayers, and it was the strike of fire protection engineers. And during this time, I met Jerzy and became his friend and spent 4 years underground at his church. And he, in 1980, he was the voice of a goodness in Poland, beautiful human being, and gentle, good. There was everything in him that was good. That was amazing to know him, because the first time that I saw a human being that actually had this unconditional love, which I thought it was always fake by smart people, that the smart people would fake unconditional love. But then I met Jerzy, and that was, wow. That was like, being with a saint on the planet. And And people sense that. People sense in whole Poland, because whenever he had sermons, that the sermons gave people hope, calmed them down, and also inspired to do something that was very hard to do, and to survive, to live life, and fight. He was so hated by the communists that eventually they captured him and tortured him and murdered him. So then after that, of course, we lost the beauty, the inspiration, the motivation. We lost the goodness and so on. But we didn't really, because as Jersey is always there, right? It's always present in Poland. In 2000, I don't know, 18 or 2011, he was recognized by the church as a saint. And in 2018, it was a special medal was created for to honor other people that fought for the same cause in life. And he's remembered by 3 words: truth, love, and forgiveness. And here is a situation that, when I eventually started working on the Happy Body and creating the Happy Body, I work on this truth, and the truth was the main factor of transparency and truth, really. Where is the truth? What is the truth about the skill of living and creating the fit human being? Where is the truth about where are the numbers? What is the science of it? And that truth I started really searching for, and that truth started showing up itself in complete 100% transparency. And the transparency also it is all the science and numbers in the Happy Body, standards and how to live life with the truth. And even though the truth can be really hard, so if you create such a truth, of course that truth is not convenient for people, because the truth is really hard to achieve. And but because you love truth and the truth is everything, then it really doesn't matter. You have to create, and I had to create the truth. I couldn't create something else. I couldn't create something that would be something to be vague and have really flashy words and sell it. So it took many years to create this truth and embrace all the standards in numbers, so anybody in the world could create those numbers for himself and herself. Eventually, the numbers were given to me to the end in 2002, when I watched Charlie Anderson competing in Melbourne, and he lifted the weight of the weight equaled his body weight, and he was 8 years old. And I thought, wow, what an amazing thing. And I thought, well, that should be a standard for people to live life by, to develop that kind of a strength he was. he came to the banquet after with his wife, who was probably the same age, and they walked to the banquet so beautifully, so lightly, effortlessly. It was amazing to watch. They came to this man who had this champagne glasses, and he picked up two and gave one to his wife. They enjoyed the time, they enjoyed the walk, they enjoyed, to be with other people, and they walk like tigers, like, panthers. 8 years old. I said, wow, that is the number to anybody should live by. And it's fair to ask somebody who is 30, 40, or 50 years old to get as strong as the 8-year-old. And all that was the number that I took and transcended that number, transformed to the happy body. And that became the standard of strength and standard of speed. So the search was for about 10 years for all these numbers. Eventually, the integrity of those numbers are there. And there is also a responsibility on anyone that can create such a thing, transparency, to live by and to create such a thing in life. So, but it's important. The truth is important. If you don't have the truth, then you have vagueness, and you have vagueness, you have entertainment. You can, really, you cannot really take seriously anything that is entertainment. It's just entertainment. There's nothing to do there. It's just fun and so on. There's no progress. There is no skill. There is no consistent 5 years of working on something. It's just entertainment. So when the book came eventually, there was this other aspect of the happy body so that people have to fall in love with that, because it's like a swimmer or entertainer or a gymnast. You have to fall in love with that, what you do, and an artist or poet. Otherwise, it's just too hard. So you have to love what you do. Then I started realizing that that's the whole thing, that we have to develop philosophy of falling with love with something what is good for us, but we don't like at the beginning. It's really a really hard choice, and develop these transitions toward that belief system. And started really working on poems and stories and creating this possibility. Then in 2018, what was it during this time was that I was not so clear about how to deal with, when we actually fail, right? So then I was in 2018, I was awarded this Jerzy Popiełuszko medal, the spiritual medal, for fighting for the same cause. I went to Warsaw, received that medal in the place, in the church that he was, and where I was on the ground. So then, when I was coming back, I realized that the last word of the forgiveness, it's so important, and it closes the circle actually to be able to go forward. We can get stuck on that we failed, and when we get stuck that we fail, we cannot move, and we need really the movement forward. And we have to forgive ourselves for everything, whatever we've done in the past. And that was that was an amazing thing what Jerzy was doing about the forgiveness. So I started really giving a lot of energy to, to people, and to create the forgiveness that is needed for whenever we fail, whenever the next day comes in and the present moment happens. We have to really forgive ourselves if we did anything wrong or didn't do anything, fail. It really doesn't matter, but we have to really close the circle of that past to be in the present moment, and to be able to really be in the present moment, and in that present moment to create something that can take us forward to the next day and create something better in that day. That forgiveness is crucial. So that's the virtue came that because of it, failure needs forgiveness. And that is a story a little bit behind, so you are aware of the story. So today, your homework will be to write the first response to that virtue, and that would be, I understand. So when you think about all of it now, failure needs forgiveness. Think about what they said, then it will give you some understanding of it. It's that pondering on it. So here is the response in the book to some kind of response understanding. Two sentences about that. Dwelling on past mistakes robs you of energy for new opportunities. Why live in a negative space when you can free yourself by taking ownership of the present and restarting? So your homework will be to write that sentence today. Well, I will take some insights now from you, because this is our first day. This is the beginning. Before I will give you about to chat for 10-15 minutes on your own, to say something about all of it, what I said, and we'll move on.
Jerzy, can you reread what you just read, please?
Yeah, okay, let me see.
Thank you.
Dwelling on past mistakes robs you of energy for new opportunities. Why live in a negative space when you can free yourself by taking ownership of the present and restarting? So you can see how that is connected so much to what I said, right? That, the proverb didn't come out of nowhere, right? It was created because of the very deep past, actually, and experiences. So, hi, Amy, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Amy lost her dog by, a simple mistake, right? And I'm sorry for that.
Well, as I mourn, I am trying to remind myself every day that I have to not dwell on the past. I've already turned it over 1,000,000 times and take full responsibility. And now I have to forgive myself completely, 100%, so that I can move forward. And yeah, directly applies to my current experience.
Right. Thank you. Anyone wants to say something, have a question?
Can you repeat the homework?
It will be, it's coming from the Book of Virtues. Let me
Yeah.
see. Let me see. So this is the second virtue, and that virtue will stay with us. And the homework is to think about the failure needs forgiveness proverb, and then write a sentence. I understand. Start, I understand, and finish the sentence.
Okay.
That is your homework, half of the homework, because there will be something more. But when I give you the other half of the homework, then before that, I would like to open for you 10 minutes now of the like talk between when you have 10 minutes to chat. So this is the time when you can chat to each other. You can say something what you want, and on and on and on. So usually we'll be doing this on daily basis, that you will have these 10 minutes to talk to each other, to say something to the group that you would like to share. Like Amy can now share with you what happened to her, and with her unfortunate a way of dealing with really a friend in her life that she found and lost. So that's her story. I will go and get some tea and leave you alone for about 10 minutes. I will comment and do the rest.
Hi guys. So just briefly, I made a series of mistakes based on my ignorance of how to transport a dog I was adopting who had just gotten off an airplane, and she bolted from the airport. And for 6 days, I employed the advice of expert trappers and rescuers and hundreds of people in the Fresno airport area. And she was chased to the point where she was hit by a car and found dead a day later. She was alive when she was hit, but she suffered additionally for another day until she died. So I've been replaying all the mistakes I've made, and I like I said to you guys just a moment ago, know that I need to forgive myself for those mistakes. But the first things I had to do was acknowledge that this just wasn't an accident, that accidents are often a series of bad decisions. And I didn't need, I knew that I was in charge, responsible, had freedom of choice. I had choices all along the way. And I just happened to pick the wrong ones, and it cost a life. So we all make these choices all the time, every moment, and sometimes they're the wrong ones. So what are we going to do? What am I going to do? Sit here and cry for another week without trying to make sure other dogs don't die from my mistakes? I'm going to instead try to educate others. But most importantly and most difficult is forgiving myself. But I know I have to do it because I've made a lot of other bad choices in my life, and I've spent years and years and years regretting them, and it robs me of the energy of, I wrote it down, of being in the present moment and restarting, just like I'm doing with Happy Body. I could beat myself up for all the years that I went off of the Happy Body and neglected my body, but that is wasted energy. So that's what Jersey wanted me to share, I guess. I'll go off and mute myself now.
Amy, that must be really hard, but I think you have to, when you forgive yourself, you have to remember that there was no intent to cause harm. You were doing it in the best, to the best of your knowledge and ability. So just try to remember that and give yourself a hug.
Thank you, Sanjam.
Thanks for sharing, Amy. My granddaughter, we're working through just the last couple of weeks, just by chat, left the gate open in a rush to go into the house. And the dog was in the yard and took off and was hit by a car. And they had to have it put down. And so I'm very sorry, but I have a sense of I guess what you're going through in a way, and trying to work with our granddaughter to deal with it. So let me know if you come up with an answer.
Absolutely, Dick. If you wanna, if you or anyone wants to call me, or text me, or if there's any little blurbs of advice, I'm gonna put my number here, so feel free to use it. Okay.
Cool, thanks.
You have access to the chat because you said hi to me first thing. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, take care. I have to go now. Sorry, everybody, but thanks for a great first session on a continuing series. Take care.
Bye, Dick.
Hi, Dick. Amy, can you hear me? It's Janice. I've missed you so much while you were gone, and I'm so sorry about your dog. And the next dog may be the blessing, I don't know, but the pain is, I feel you,
Yeah, she was not a traumatized animal until this. She was really a sweet soul.
It was an accident. So painfully sorry for you, and I want to help you. I want to hear you. I want to be with you while you do this.
Well, you can send me the psychic energy because I feel it, or you can shoot me a text with support. Thank you.
I will. I will. Okay. Bye, all. I'm going to mute.
Yeah, I just want to add that forgiveness is really, really hard to come to completely, and it's even harder when it comes to yourself, because there's a lot of things that, like you said, you accept responsibility, and when you accept responsibility, it's very hard to move from that sense of I did this to the sense of it's done, and the next step in the journey is, I don't know how to say it, but to embrace that pain and to move forward. I guess I'm not being very articulate, but don't be super hard on yourself. The very fact that you loved this being is something that you devoted your time and your energy. And even though we make choices, everything is not in our control. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Thank you. And you're right. Everything is not in our control except how we respond to the stimuli. and the more people you include in on a decision to be made, the harder it is to control, because you can't control anyone else. So I do realize I am not alone in this dog's horrifying journey of the last 6 days of its life. It is shared with others who also made choices. So that is the only thing I can do to not take on the entire burden myself, and realize that I am a part of a huge thing that occurred. But it did start with just me and one other person making our most important bad decisions at the beginning. So yeah, thank you.
Amy, I mean, you talked about making choices, and yeah, you know, it's important to acknowledge responsibility, but just because you make a choice doesn't mean you necessarily have knowledge. It doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. There's a big difference between making a choice and thinking, okay, I've got responsibility for that choice, but it doesn't mean that you have the knowledge that goes with it and you're not going to make mistakes, and everyone makes mistakes, right? And I think that's where the forgiveness needs to come in.
Yeah.
That's really key. Good point.
It's also kind of ironic that sometimes the most compassionate people are the hardest on themselves. And sometimes I like to do what my mother says and treat myself as if I'm a friend. So treat Amy as if she's a friend of yours. What would you say to her? And what would you do to help her through this? Because certainly you wouldn't condemn her for what you've done.
No, I'd like Alistair to repeat that, because that's what I would tell myself if I were my friend. And I'm going to write it down.
Okay, so do you know what? It's not going to come out the same, but
Let me repeat what I understand.
yeah, what did you get? Go on.
Just because everyone has choices, just because you make a choice doesn't mean that you know the outcome of that choice. And therefore, sometimes you make a mistake. And everyone makes mistakes. And you have to forgive yourself for that.
Absolutely.
Anything
And
you want?
that's what this is. Well, that's just exactly what this is about. I mean, the quote is failing needs forgiveness, right? So if you do something, you make a mistake, that's what needs forgiveness. I think the point really is there's a difference between you make a choice, okay, but that doesn't mean that you always have full knowledge of what that choice might lead to, okay? So you take responsibility for the choice, but you cannot then beat yourself up for then what happens after that.
There's another level to it too, that the whole ideas of failures is that, you know, people who fail are people that chose to do something, to face something, a hard choice to improve the life. That's why they, so most of the time we fail. And then there's the part that if we don't want to improve our life, we'll never fail. So that's the fear of failure, is that we'll not do anything. So people that want to do something, want to do some goodness, will always fail, because failure is the part of progress. If we don't fail, it means we don't do anything. So it's the failure is a human sign of growth, that we actually chose hard choices and we fail, but we are choosing it, we are making it. So it's important to know that most of us fail, and we fail because we want to make things better in life. That's why we fail. And then we also need to forgive ourselves for those failures as a normal signs in our life. And sometimes the signs are really tough, like Emmy sign is a really tough sign. It's really hard to embrace such a sign in life, and it takes a lot of forgiveness to yourself, and to see also, you know, the where is it going, you know, and to be the part of a better solution now for that, you know, after that failure. What happens after that failure? You know, what are we going to do with it? And that is at stake. You know, like Emmy chose to write protocol to bring more awareness that the choice is really there, to not make that mistake. That the choice is to ask somebody and create the safety of that dog, so you don't create the situation that, you know, that dog can run away. And so that's why Emmy talked about that we have to be collar, and there has to be, you know, leash, and so on and so on. There are so many things that we can overcome because we don't see that we have a choice at that moment. So important, and then this awareness that we really need to work on is that the more awareness we have that we have choices, the more we become conscious about what's happening, and the more conscious we are, the less we'll spend time on making mistakes, or less mistakes we make in our life. Sounds right, Emmy?
I just wanted to add something, Jersey, that for Amy, a lot of times when these things happen, you know, we feel that we put a lot of effort into moving on, but really we need to take the time we need to process these emotions. These feelings are totally valid. You know, you're grieving a loss, and you're taking responsibility for what happened, but no one can say to you how long that's going to take. And, you know, it's sort of, that's the hard choice that you're making. You're choosing to feel what you're feeling for as long as you need to feel it. And nobody can judge you for that. You know, you've got to process it, and it's meaningful in that way. And you're taking action as well for yourself. But grief has, you know, and grieving a failure or a mistake is valid as well. You know, so I'm not saying that you're going to be in this situation for a long period of time. You know, that's not fair either, but to make sure you understand that it's valid, that you can feel this wholeheartedly, and then be able to move on when the time is right.
Well, thanks, Deborah. And I think that this really goes to the theme of failure needs forgiveness, because in the past, what has stopped my energy from progressing forward in life is not allowing the time to process and grieve failures, burying whatever that is, or placing blame and holding resentments, and placing all these blocks ahead of my progress to live a happy life, to live a happy, active, fulfilled life. So when Jersey brings up that failures are a sign, multiple failures, numerous failures are a sign of someone trying to progress in life. And that those who don't have a lot, who aren't trying to make their lives happier and better, are not going to experience as many failures, it makes me understand now that I'm going to have a lot of them. If I'm doing the right thing, I'm going to fail. And with what you said, I need to take a little time to process that fully before I can keep making more failures.
Right.
So it's a really trippy cycle where we just have to accept this is life.
Right. Can you imagine, athletes or dancers, how many failures they do? They go into this perfection and they fail all the time. Baryshnikov, when he performed in New York, the story is that he performed and his performance was the best performance of his life. Okay, this is the perfection, right? So now he is in his room and then everybody rushes to say, congratulate and so on. And they see him sad sitting. And say, well, Master, what happened? It was incredible. And I said, yeah, I know it was incredible, but now I worry that I will never make it again that way. So you see, it's just that the failures are constant. In athletics, they are constant failures. In weightlifting, you have thousands of failures when you lift weights. Sometimes you have misses and missing. It's just a normal thing. Yeah, that happens in our lives. So in a journey, those people that really challenge the status quo of a day, the present moment, then will make failures because without them we wouldn't have progress at all. We wouldn't simply improve our lives. And sometimes when we improve our life, we really suffer a lot. It's like me today, right? And that that will come to that. It came to the okay, what to do with that, and he's dealing with that. Really, it's like everybody else. So we are all in constant failures if we want to really create something better over time.
And I just want to add, I'm trying to feel through the difference between being ashamed and being accountable. Because shame is, if you stay in shame, that's very inactive and debilitating. If you stay in accountability, it moves you at least out of that a little bit, out of that place of judgment.
That's why you need to close the circle. You see, if you close the circle with forgiveness, it's closed and it's finished. And then you move on to the next circle. And then you go into another circle. You go with the certain truth, certain love, and it ends up with the, forgiveness, right? All right. Somebody wrote something here? Okay.
Amy, are you deliberately sharing your screen?
What is it?
Amy's sharing her screen. I'm just checking if it's deliberate or not.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Don't know what I did. I'm confused. I swiped something.
You did share screen at the bottom. If you go to the top, you can stop sharing.
If I go to the top, I can stop sharing.
Yeah. See where it says view options.
View options. I'm so sorry, everybody.
It's okay. I want a copy of it.
Keep talking. Keep talking. Stop share.
Okay, good.
There you go.
Okay, let's go to the other half of the homework.
Okay,
And that will come from this book.
I got this. Okay.
And it is chapter 7. And chapter 7 is renewal. Very interesting, right? Very interesting. So you read chapter 7, and we'll discuss about chapter 7 and also the other half is about failing is forgiveness. And those people that were not really the part of the Hard Choices 1 and 2, I already sent the links to, so you can watch it and if you are not a part of it, but you want to make donation, follow the same thing for that part, and that would be great. And let me see if anybody wants to say something to close. Anyone?
I wanted to see if someone out there has the technical ability to know how to save the chat when you're on an iPhone instead of a computer.
Jersey,
Yes.
do you have anything that you can say about the experience of feeling grief? Just a sentence.
Well, I think this is the time when you was something like a major loss in your life is, right? And then you have the loss, you have very deep sadness in you, and then you give yourself completely into it. You have to give yourself into that sadness, that you should cry, you should sob, and so on. You should have all these feelings, and that the more you go inside of it, the more you will have this feeling that it needs really the tears, needs the cries, and needs those things. And then when you go even deeper, you burn it really faster. If you don't have those feelings, you cannot really bounce back. It's almost like being an alcoholic, that you have to bounce, you have to get to the bottom and bounce from there. You either bounce or you die, in a way, right? So with grieving is the same thing. You have to really experience deeply the feeling.
I think people are really afraid to do that, and
yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, once you experience deeply that feeling, that you can bounce from it, and you can move on to life. But you have to burn this.
It's hard. It is so hard, though.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't believe grief. Well, I can believe it. There's a rhythm to these classes that has always mirrored what's going on in my life. And I'm coming up on the 1-year anniversary of my mother's death. And we were incredibly close. And it's just, at times, it just seems like the grief is so deep. And then I'll come up again, and then it's like whoosh.
Right.
It's big stuff.
Well, yes, it is. I was when I lost my mother, I was always scared to lose my mother since I was like, I don't know, 5 or 7 years old, and I always had it.
It was 4 for me.
Yeah, and it was just like, and then when my mother actually passed, I was on the plane going to Poland, and I was going to take my mother from the hospital and move to another one. But it was just a time that it was not really a good time in Poland. It was 2000, and then I was late, right? So you see, and then then you have to live with it, right? And you have to somehow embrace the whole existence. That's why existentialism. We are dealing in this session with existentialism. We go deep into the deepest feeling of the virtue, and that's why it's sending us everywhere, and we are bouncing everywhere today, and it touches us everywhere, and no matter what, because we are really there. We are inside of that. We spend 2 hours to get there, and we are there, and it's like a poem takes you and sends you, right? And so it's a really deep question about grieving and time. And
The only thing, not the only thing, but one of the strongest things that have helped me, that I know the grief is almost a reciprocal of the love we shared. And the thought of not having that much love with her, I wouldn't go there, right? So it's like being a scientist by training. It's like, well, if this is true, then this must be true, right? So you got to deal with the grief, otherwise you're going to have that love.
True.
But it doesn't stop the heaviness of the emotion. And it's just,
well, the more love, the more grief, right?
Ugh.
I love my mother. My mother was like, I was like mother's son, right? And I love my mother. So it was a lot of years of grieving, and it's still today, you know. So it's not like goes away. It will never go away. You lost your mother, so you'll be grieving constantly, and it's okay. So like it will never go away. So read poems, cry sometimes, and that's it until we go away. So it's not like it's okay, right? So it's our way of living. It's our existence. That's why we have existentialism. That you know, how we live life and what happens to us, and we embrace all of it, and we grieve through all of it.
yeah. Thank you.
Great. All right, guys. Wow, what a day we had today. Well, see you tomorrow then.
Looking forward to it already.
Yeah, me too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care, Amy.